Sup, y'all? It's me. It's your boy Asmongold, and today I want to talk to you guys about some really big news, substantial developments, real shit that has happened. The new PTR build came out, and this basically confirms what a lot of people were expecting, and also it's going to give us a lot of information in terms of what's going to happen at the end of the Antorus raid whenever we fight Argus the World Soul, what's going to happen with Sargeras, what's going to happen with Illidan, and also what's going to happen going forward after that raid, and what might potentially lead us into the next expansion. So this is a huge amount of new information. It opens the door for a dozen different possibilities, and I want to talk to you about those today. Now, the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is Antorus the raid. And guys, by the way, there's going to be some spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to see that, maybe you shouldn't watch the video, but make sure to like it before you leave. Anyway, guys, so at the end of Antorus, we fight Argus the World Soul. Now, Argus the World Soul, the entire, I guess, like dungeon journal for the fight has been data mined, or at least what's come out of it. It gives us a pretty good idea on what to expect with the fight. Basically, it's going to be a lot like Yogg-Saron, where you have the different keepers, and instead of keepers like Mimiron, Hodir, Freya, and whatever the fuck his name is, instead, we're going to have the Titans this time, and they're going to be helping us fight Argus the World Soul, Argus the Unmaker. So that is incredible because Argus is basically a Titan. We are literally going to be fighting a Titan in the next raid, and that's going to be coming out probably in a couple of months. Now, on top of that, there is going to be some sort of Lich King type mechanic where the entire raid dies. I'm not really entirely sure how all of these mechanics are going to fit together, but it does show some point in the fight where every single person dies, and I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of resurrection afterwards, and ANR is going to resurrect people, and what happens at the end of the fight is a little bit unclear, but Sargeras does get involved to some extent because at the end of the fight, what happens basically is that Illidan turns into all of the Titans channel some sort of power, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody is entirely certain about this, but all of the Titans channel some sort of power, and they, I guess, like, imprison Sargeras in the Pantheon with themselves, and they have Illidan as the jailer of the Dark Titan, which I think, honestly, guys, is a perfect way to end the story. I think it's amazing, and also it opens up the possibility that if they do want to do a Void Lord themed expansion later on, that they could tap that again and have Sargeras and Illidan come back, and maybe have Sargeras play a positive role in the story. I don't really know how I would feel about that, but it's absolutely a possibility. So anyway, after all that happens, of course, you're going to have a ton of different voice lines. You have Illidan basically has like these crystals, and he gives them, and you're supposed to take them to Tyrande and Malfurion. Malfurion is his brother, and Tyrande is like Malfurion's, like, I guess, like lover, wife, partner, mate, whatever you want to call it. And Illidan also liked her a lot, but she chose Malfurion, so there's a little bit of drama going on with that. And basically, I think it was a pretty good wrap up for everything. The actual voice lines themselves are, I'm sure that you guys can probably find them on Wowhead or MMO Champion if you want to listen to them yourself. So obviously that's really, really cool, and I'm glad that there is some level of closure. I think a lot of people are very disappointed in the fact that whenever Illidan did come back from the story in patch 7.2 and then in 7.3, we didn't really see any sort of dialogue between him and Malfurion or him and Tyrande. But there is a little bit of an explanation with that whenever it's talking about what's going to happen with Tyrande. So that's all the basic stuff, okay? But before Sargeras is imprisoned, it seems like, now we're not entirely certain, but it seems like Sargeras stabs Azeroth. I can't even believe this is even happening. So Sargeras, I mean, obviously the dude's really big, by the way, because he can stab an entire planet. But he stabs Azeroth, and he, I guess, like, kind of tries to kill Azeroth and wound Azeroth, the planet, right before he gets imprisoned. And that is shown by the fact that there is a new map that was data mined of Silthius that has a giant fucking hole in the middle of it. So, and there's also a Khadgar line that's explaining it as well, so this isn't just complete conjecture. So, obviously, like, what's next to Silthius? Well, there's AQ. What's an AQ? Well, I don't know, Cthulhu? That's an old god. So, I think it definitely does lend a lot of of credence and a lot of, I guess, like tangibility to the fact that we might actually have an old god themed expansion after Legion, which I'm very happy to see. I think that would be really, really cool. I think everybody loves tentacles, so it's going to be great. I think I'm happy, absolutely. So I think that what's going to happen now, these are my assumptions here. What's going to happen now is that they're going to have like the wound in the earth is going to somehow release an old god or the old gods or something like that, and that's going to kind of kick off the next expansion in some form of a pre-expansion patch, the same as we had with like the Legion pre-expansion events with the invasions, right? So I think this is going to be pretty much the same thing with the old gods or something like that, and I think that this is obviously going to play a very, very pivotal role in the game. Now, also, I think this definitely does serve as a talking point. I do, as a minor thing right now, I do want to talk about with Silthius. I have very, very fond memories of Silthius. I remember very, very clearly listening to the Rush Greatest Hits CD and farming out the little sand and then taking it back and forth and farming out rep for the Cenarian Circle. I remember that so fondly going home from high school and doing that, and I really hope that they don't actually completely destroy Silthius and they still keep a Keeper of Time or something like that that will allow you to see the old Silthius before it was destroyed by what it seems like as Sargeras. So I do want to make that very, very clear, is that I hope that the changes that are made are not necessarily permanent, and you're able to see the old version of the zone through some sort of Keeper of Time in the same way that you can with Theramore and also with the Dark Portal Blasted Lands area. So I do want to make that emphasized, absolutely. But on top of that, what does that really mean for the rest of Azeroth? Does that mean that they're going to change the rest of Azeroth as well? Personally, I don't really think that they will, but if they do, I will probably not think it's that great of an idea. I think one of the greatest things about Cataclysm is the fact that they did revamp all the different zones. I wish they had kept the older zones intact, and I wish they gave you a way to experience the older zones and also the newer zones with, again, like one of the Keepers of Time. But because that wasn't a possibility, I do think that a lot of the new zones and the way that they designed them was very good, and I feel like going back and redesigning all of the old zones over again would probably be a waste of resources and a waste of time. In between people going back for nostalgia and also at the same time people getting the boosts, I think that making the leveling experience better and maybe making it more smooth and making it make more sense doesn't necessarily serve that great of a purpose. So I hope they don't necessarily completely redo Azeroth again in the same way that they did with the Cataclysm, but if they change a couple of things here and there, I think that'll be a positive thing as well. So absolutely, guys. I'm pretty sure, like, my assumption, I haven't really tried to speculate a whole lot about what's going to happen in the next expansion, but I am of the mindset, the same as a lot of other people, that the expansion will revolve around some sort of, I think there's going to be some sort of seafaring boat stuff going on. I think that boats will be involved at the next expansion, also because Jaina Proudmoore is on one of the key art things for the BlizzCon this year, and we haven't seen Jaina at all in Legion, so I feel like Jaina is going to come back in whatever the next expansion is and have something to do with that in the form of Kel'Thuzad, and that's also already been kind of data mined before with certain Kel'Thuzad leveling items and other items that follow the same naming techniques and naming conventions as leveling items in previous expansions. So I do absolutely think that's what's going to happen, and is Jaina going to be evil? Is she a Dreadlord? Is any of that happening? I don't really know. I don't really think they should make Jaina into a raid boss. I think making her like some sort of jaded kind of person that doesn't really like either the Alliance or the Horde, I think that would make it more interesting than just making her a raid boss, and I feel the same way with Sylvanas as well. So anyway, I'm very excited about this, obviously. I'm moving my hands around a lot, so this is fucking cool, right? Obviously, I think it's really cool the fact that we're actually moving the story forward. I've said this before, is that I do really feel like Argus and Tomb of Sargeras, really, but Argus especially is the first point since I would say like Deathwing, from my perspective, that we've actually moved the core of the Warcraft lore forward in the same way with like those main characters like Khadgar, Illidan, etc. that those characters are actually being moved forward and something is happening with them. So I think this is absolutely awesome. I'm pretty hyped about this. The only thing that I'm not hyped about is I also saw that they did a data mine for another upgrade item for the legendaries. It's going to upgrade your legendaries up to item level 1000. Please, Blizzard, do not make us run heroics again for every fucking legendary. Like, there's no purpose for that. It's just a complete waste of time. Please, Blizzard, don't make us do it again. We've already done it twice. That is basically all I have to say about that. This is extremely exciting. This is extremely awesome, and I really look forward to see what's going to happen after this. But it does definitely look towards an Old God themed expansion, but we'll have to see. If you guys have any other comments, criticisms, concerns, feedback, theory crafting, predictions, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I've got. So thank you very much for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe.